So good afternoon, friends. This is Binit from Pratham. Today we are going to discuss something about the CLAT new pattern. As you all must be aware that on 1st of January this month in 2020, the CLAT notification was officially out, and the significant part about this CLAT pattern is that this will be a new CLAT pattern, new exam pattern so far as CLAT is concerned, right? So the new pattern will comprise of exactly 150 questions, because earlier the number of questions were 200. So now it will be 150 questions, and the sections remain same, 5 sections. That is verbal ability, that is English; quantitative aptitude, that is maths; legal aptitude; general awareness; and logical reasoning. So these are the 5 sections that will be asked, and the percentage of the marks remains same as it was before, right? So basically the percentage remains same, and in this particular video we are going to specifically emphasize on the general awareness and current affairs part of the CLAT. How to approach and how to strategize for the question, to solve the questions, and what should be the approach for general awareness and current affairs. So earlier, let me give you a brief history about the general awareness part of CLAT, right, which used to happen before in the year 2017, 18, 19, and so on. So there were 50 questions, 1 marks each, right, in the general awareness section, and the 50 questions were from 50 different topics, ranging from the sports, from the awards, authors, to the government policies, to the government schemes, right, to some social issues, to some economic issues. So basically, if you look at the questions of the previous year's general awareness part, so questions were from the varied topics, right, different topics. So 50 questions, 50 different topics, and mostly the questions were factual in nature. So it was you have to know the data, you have to know the name, you have to know the name of the scheme, you have to know the name of the author, you have to know the name of the player who has actually received the award, and so on. So it was mostly factual in nature. Now from this year, CLAT has announced, and it has actually come up with a sample paper wherein the questions will be more on the basis of comprehension. It will be a comprehension based question so far as general awareness and other sections like legal aptitude is also concerned. So we are talking about general awareness. So let's see that according to the CLAT sample question paper, which actually CLAT has released, what kind of question is going to be asked, right? And what should be the strategy or the approach to answer those questions. So let's get into those questions first. So here is a PPT. You can see sample question CLAT, current affairs, new pattern. Now, if you look at the first question, it mentions something about the impeachment of the President Donald Trump on the charges of abuse of power, and so on. So this was an editorial. This was an article taken from you can see the reference Economic Times, right? And this was an article they have taken, wherein what they have done, they have actually omitted some names, and they have written in the bracket, they have written 1, in the bracket they have written 2, and so on, right? So this was the article, and this article was followed by 5 questions. Now you have to answer those questions on the basis of this article. Now see that how relevant are the questions, and are the questions exactly related to these articles or not. So let's see it. So this was the article. Now let's go to the first question. First question is this: Donald Trump is the 3rd president of United States of America to be impeached. Which of the following president has also been impeached? Now, the president who have been impeached is not at all mentioned in the article, right? So this question has nothing to do with the article directly, right? But yes, indirectly it is related to the article, wherein they have asked something which is historical to that of United States presidential post, right? In the previously, who are the president who have been impeached? Which of the following has also been impeached? So it has some historical importance to this particular passage of the impeachment. Look at the second question. This second question is directly related to this article, because they have asked that number 1 in the bracket stands for which particular country. So if somebody has actually read this article, right, he or she would be able to answer the question. Look at the third question, right? Again, this question is directly from the passage, wherein in the bracket 2 written is there, and they're asking that whose name has been replaced with 2 in the passage box. So this is also directly related to the article. So far we have seen three questions. The first question had some historical relevance to the article. The second question and this third question is directly related to the article, right? So if somebody has read the newspaper thoroughly and remembers the article, or he remembers the context, or he should be or she should be able to answer this question. This fourth question, now this is very interesting. You see, which article of the Constitution in India sets out the process of the impeachment of the President of India? Now in the article, they have mentioned about the impeachment of President Donald Trump, and impeachment was in the context of United States. Now this question is asking impeachment in Indian context, right? So this question has directly nothing to do with the question, so nothing to do with the article, right? But since the word impeachment was mentioned in the article, or in that particular editorial or that article, so they have brought this impeachment word and they have asked this impeachment thing from the Indian point of view, from the Indian context. Of course, the answer is Article 61, right? But from US context or US based article or US related article, right, wherein they are talking about the impeachment of the President of US, they have directly jumped on to the Indian context, right? So we can see that this question is indirectly related to this particular question or this particular article of the newspaper. And this is the last question. Again, in the Indian point of view, they have asked the question from the Indian point of view, that under the Constitution of India, a charge for the impeachment of President of India can be preferred by, right? So it can be preferred by which? Obviously, the answer is either House of the Parliament. But yeah, so basically, these last two questions, which was asked from Indian context or Indian point of view, these two questions are indirectly related to the actual article which has been asked in the sample paper. So what is the outcome? What is the takeaway? Takeaway is that total 5 questions are there. First question has historical relevance to the article, not directly related to it. Second question and third question are directly related to that article of the newspaper. Fourth and fifth question are indirectly related to that article, and that too precisely from the Indian context or from the Indian point of view, India's point of view. So that clearly means that earlier, in the year 2016, 17, 18, wherein 50 different questions were there, all factual questions or fact-based questions, right? And the range of the topic has to be very wide. You have to read a lot of topics in order to actually grasp the data and answer the question, right? Which actually happened in 2016, 17, 18. But this time, from 2020 onwards, when there is a reading comprehension based or actually comprehension based general awareness, that really means that if you read any article of newspaper, you have to dig deep within the article, right? You have to look at the left, right, top, down, center, everything related to that article, right? Because it's very apparent from this question only that impeachment of the President of United States, Donald Trump, it was asked, right? One question from the historical background of US, right? 2 questions directly from the passage, and the 2 remaining questions not directly from the passage but from Indian point of view, indirectly related to the passage of the articles. So that really means that you have to have deep knowledge about any particular topic. Earlier, you have to have only factual data. You have to be prepared in terms of only the name of the author or the name of the award or the name of the schemes. But now you have to thoroughly understand what the topic is. You have to thoroughly understand what the context is. You have to thoroughly understand what was the past or what was the history of this particular incident, what particular thing is right now going through, right, and what can happen in future. So basically, you have to. It will be more of a analysis based, effort which you have to go through, and you have to dig deep within the article in order to understand that what is the entire context of the passage and the question. So this is the first question of the sample paper so far as the general awareness is concerned. Now let us look at the second question which they have mentioned. Now this is an article passage from which they have taken from ISRO website, Indian Space Research Organization website, and as we all know that a very significant event that happened in 2019, that was the Chandrayaan 2 mission. So they have given this particular topic. Now this is the passage wherein they have under the bracket they have written X, under the bracket again they have written Y, and this is the entire package wherein they mention this passage is mentioning about the launch of the mission and what was the purpose of this mission, to have a detailed study of the topography, seismography, mineral identification and distribution, etc., etc., right? And in the next slide, they have given all the technicalities and certain things as well, so this they have taken from the ISRO website. Now let us look at the question. What kind of questions they have asked? First is a direct question, wherein the inside the bracket X is written. They're asking what is the name of the mission, and this question was very easy to answer, right? It's Chandrayaan 2 mission. Look at the second question, right? It was also very easy to mention, easy to answer. Somebody has read the newspaper, right? Any newspaper, national newspaper, either it's Hindu, the Indian Express, Hindustan Times or Times of India. If you have read this, so they have categorically mentioned in the articles that it was actually the south pole of the moon that was to be explored, right? And this was also a direct question. So first question and the second question, these are the direct questions. Now let's look at the third question. This mission referred to in the above passage was launched from which space station? Now this is not directly related to the article, but yeah, this the moment anybody is looking at talking about ISRO and talking about the space mission or talking about the launching of an spacecraft, so this question is quite obvious that what is the place from which such launch happens, right? So this question is also indirectly related to, and it's deeply related to that article, right? That passage, right? So of course the answer is Satish Dhawan Space Center, from which the launch actually happened. Look at the fourth question. Fourth question is not at all directly related to the passage. This was a statement, right, made by the chairman of ISRO as 15 minutes of terror, right? And it was very viral in all the newspapers and across all the electronic media or the news channels, right? Because he mentioned that Vikram lander must have had a hard landing, and communication from the lander to the ground station was lost, right? So this was the unfortunate event which actually we could not witness the landing of the lander over there on the south pole of the moon. So this was called 15 minutes of terror, and one could answer this question only when that person has understood the entire context of Chandrayaan 2, or if you have heard or listened to the entire news in the electronic media, or if you have read the entire news in the print media, then only you would be able to answer that what was the 15 minutes of terror. So definitely this question has to do a lot with the passage mentioned in the question, but for this is not directly related. For this you have to have the entire knowledge of the context in which this particular report was published in the ISRO website. And looking at the last question, which of the following is factually accurate statement in relation to the mission referred to above? So this question is more of a, I would say, comprehension based. So you have to identify the accurate statement yourself after reading the entire passage, right? So I would say that you have to, first of all, this question checks your comprehension skills, and after that this question also checks your reasoning skills, critical reasoning skills. So this particular question, I would say, I would be keeping in the segment of critical reasoning and comprehension based question. So now let's go back and let's have a look. So altogether 5 questions were there. So you can see that, right? Coming to the first question of this particular passage. So this is the first question, direct question. Second question, direct question from the passage, right? Provided you have read the passage and you have understood the context. Third question, it's a kind of a question which everybody should know, that when it comes to India and when it is about launching the spacecraft, from where does it get launched, right? Fourth is, definitely if you can answer this question only when you have you have had a track of the news, that what actually happened from the beginning of the mission to the end of the mission, right? And this last part, which is more of a comprehension and critical reasoning based question. So this second question, second passage on Chandrayaan also makes it very clear that again you have to have a very deeper understanding about the of the issue or of the event, right? It wouldn't be the factual understanding of the passage or the factual understanding of the event is not sufficient. It would not suffice, right? You have to have the deeper understanding of the knowledge, along with deeper understand. When I say deeper understanding, that really means that you have to have the historical knowledge of that event, right? What is happening in the present and what is planned for the future. Then only you can understand any concept or any event holistically, right? So in my views, newspaper has become the textbook for general awareness and current affairs. And please read newspapers, right? Please keep a track of the all the events, and please get updated as well. Like for example, if a question comes on Sabarimala verdict by the Supreme Court, right? And the passage comes out to be like this only, then that clearly means you have to know the historical importance of what is Sabarimala, where it is, right? What actually, who are not allowed to enter there in the temple, right? Who are allowed? What is the reason behind that? Most importantly, what is the article that is getting violated if women are not allowed to enter the temple, right? Right. And after that, what was the verdict of the Supreme Court? Who were the judges who were involved in giving the in pronouncing the verdict, right? All these questions, right, will give you a very holistic view of that Sabarimala issue, right? For that matter, the question could be on Ayodhya verdict as well, right? So you have to know the entire, historical importance. What was Ayodhya verdict? How did it happen? What actually developments happened? What happened in 1992, right? What was the Babri Masjid case and all? What happened in the last 27 years before the final verdict came out, right? So you have to know any issue in totality. You cannot afford to know any particular event in bits and pieces and then answer the question, right? So there can be so many issues like Sabarimala, I told, Ayodhya verdict, I told, Iran nuclear deal, and all those things. So basically, the context is very important. Understanding of the context is of the supreme importance in answering any question in general awareness section of the CLAT, right? So this was my take on the strategy for the general awareness, right? Thank you so much for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next video ahead. Thank you so much.